This episode is brought to you by Unstoppable. Discover the inspiring true story about Anthony Robles, who defied every expectation to become a national wrestling champion in Unstoppable, a new original movie from Amazon MGM Studios and director William Goldenberg, evoking the excitement and camaraderie of classic sports dramas and thrilling wrestling matches. Unstoppable features an all-star ensemble cast, including Jarrell Jerome, Jennifer Lopez, Don Cheadle, Michael Pena, and Bobby Cannavale. Watch Unstoppable now, exclusively on Amazon Prime Video.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey Atlanta, say hello to Small Business Help from Apple. That's right, we're here to make starting and running your business simpler. From helping you choose the right devices to setting them up hassle-free, we can help you build your business in no time. Speak to a business expert and get the help you need at no cost whatsoever. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/smallbusiness or visit an Apple store to learn more.
Join us on this week's Wrap podcast, where we'll review all of the European games, have a little chat about what tickles us, and then we'll move on to looking at the URC for this week. Let's start the show. You're listening to Wrap, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Wrap Podcast from me, Lee G. Joining me as always is Jamie and Harley from a very wet and windy Wales, and Nick from that's not Swansea. Nick, where are you, man?
In Tenerife, Buenos noches.
Nice. So joining me this week is Jamie and Harley.
Point of order, I'm in a wet and windy Devon.
Oh yeah, you are tonight, and you are tonight. But good evening, one and all, gents. Good evening, one and all. So, yeah, a bit of a crazy weekend. Have we recovered yet, Jamie? Have we cheered up? Dare I ask?
Yeah, absolutely fine. I was actually more annoyed at Newport County losing the Portfield than I was seeing Dragons get thumped in South Africa, because I saw that coming. So, yeah, not really too bothered by what I knew was coming, to be honest.
Well, we'll talk about all of the games and what have you later, but let's kick off as we normally do with a little bit of news desk. So, Jamie, all yours, mate. What's on the news desk this week?
Yeah, some women's rugby news first then. So Belinda Moore has been appointed as the WRU's new head of women's rugby. Moore is a former chief executive of Premiership Women's Rugby, and she's also the wife of former England hooker Brian Moore, in case you was wondering. So, yeah, that seems to be a good appointment. Also, news broke today before we've just started recording. Sean Lynn has been announced as Wales women's new head coach. Very successful coach Lynn led Gloucester Hartbury to back-to-back Premiership titles, and the side is currently sitting top of the table. So, Harley, you're the women's rugby expert on this part. Do you want to give us your thoughts on those appointments, please?
So we're recording the women's wrap on Thursday night, so I'll give you my thoughts through. But I mean, the headline is, this is as expected. You know, everyone's name, even when your income is still in post with Sean Lynn, and all the work he's doing with Gloucester Hartbury. Yeah, it's hard to look after. You've got a good Welsh coach who's running a successful side. The big question for me is, are the union going to give him the backing that he deserves? So he gets the full backing he needs from Gloucester. If he's not going to get it at the WU, I don't see too much changing. But one thing that's been encouraging is all the players' social medias, they've been reposting, retweeting, reblock. I don't know what the terms are for TikTok and Instagram. I'm too old for that, despite being 32. Basically, they're all going how wonderful it is. And it's not just the Gloucester Hartbury players. You've had George Evans post it, Courtney Keat, and a few other big name Welsh players. I think Caleb Evans posted about it as well. So it looks like this is an appointment that's exciting the players as well. Now, I know players being on board isn't it the be all and end all, but it does go a long way to buying messages. So yeah, I think it's a good appointment. Will he have enough time to make the change make an improvement. I don't know. Ready for the Six Nations, but hopefully at least for the World Cup.
Okay.
What I'll say on that is, so obviously my boy was in Heartbreak. He met him a couple of times, and he said he's a really nice guy. Just even though obviously he wasn't coaching my boy, they were just kind of around the pitch and what have you, and he just always stop and have a chat, especially if he finds out that you're Welsh. So he's he's got a lot of other credibility bits, not just his coaching. So
Good. Seems a positive appointment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, in other news then, according to Wales Online, the WRU have approached Harlequin scrum coach Adam Jones about joining Ron Gatland's backroom team for the Six Nations. The report says the deal has not yet been completed, but the WRU are desperate to get Jones into the Wales coaching setup. The report also says that WRU is set to appoint a sports psychologist by the name of Andy McCann, who has worked with Wales in the past. That would be quite interesting appointment if they could get Adam Jones into the coaching setup. I think that would be popular with a lot of Wales supporters, I think. What do you reckon?
Brilliant. I think the other thing, not just his coaching and his credentials and scrum, but he's a character as well. I think that's what's needed, because I think it'll probably be quite flat and quite pressured in the squad. As you know, given the results we've had, I think if they can get him there in time for the Six Nations, would be absolutely fantastic. I think it would lift the wider group.
Because there was talk about the guy from Northampton coming, wasn't there?
Yes,
that kind of petered out, and then Adam and I think Adam Jones has been the one that people have been waiting for a while. The danger is you build them up too much before they start, and there's only so much you can do with the time that he's got. The interesting appointment for me is the sports psychologist, as in who does the job now. Because I'll be honest, it's not something that gets spoken about much. And as we said on last week's pod, that mental framework, how you approach the game, how you approach training, all the stuff that gets done outside of it. None of our head coaches are given psychology. I know Toby Booth did a lot of it himself as part of his personal development and what have you. And I guess a lot of coaches will take on little bits and bobs, but for me, it's fundamental, especially for a team like the Dragons, Jamie, where you imagine how much mental pressure those guys are under every week just to get out of bed and go into work and lift weights and what have you.
They definitely need a psychologist in the Dragons. They definitely do. Yeah. It's an important part of sports psychology. A lot of it, yes, talent and ability is one part of it, but mental psychology is very important in sports. So yeah, I think it's a good move personally.
Yeah, me too. Cool. Anything else? Or is that
yes. No, just a couple of under-18s results to read out. So Dragons under-18s, they beat RGC 40 points to 12. And then Scarlets under-18s beat Cardiff under-18s 51-19. So there's a couple of rags results for you there.
No, fairness, half of our under-18s teams are now supporting our rags because all the rags are having to come up to our senior squad.
I heard a rumor that there's a guy selling pies on the stall that's been asked to bring his boots into work this week, Harley. So,
well, I mean, they've already signed Dan from the Cardiff pod because he looks enough like Rory Jennings to get away with it.
Cool. Okay, it's hard with the under-18s to know where everyone is in the table because there's 5 of them. There's never, until you get to the last round, you can't tell who's where everybody is in terms of
big Scarlet favourites.
Well, they had a good run last year, and it looks like we've started well this year again. So, but the boys on Sidesteps are recording now, and I know they've got some stuff on the academy, and they interviewed a couple of academy boys last week as well, which was good, which is really good. Okay, anything else, Jim?
Nope, that's it for me.
Excellent. Right. Let's move on to the fun bit then. Let's move on to rugby. Harley, so how many times are you going to play Connacht between now and the end of the season? So last Friday...
We've got another two games. Hopefully one of the 3 we might actually win.
So take us through last Friday then, mate. What was it like?
He was pretty good. It was nice getting back down to cap. Popped into Tiny Rebel for my usual pre-match beer because I let myself have one before I'm on the pop. And bumped into Wales Online rugby writer Ben James, who recognised me. So that was quite that that was about as close as I've gotten to the sort of levels of fame Jamie has. But yeah, it was good. Interesting game. It was good being back on the cold southwest terrace. Interesting game. I'll be honest. To say everyone had dicks for fingers for the first 20 minutes would be polite because there were so many drop balls from both sides. The difference was our fingers were slightly more buttery. So we made quite a fair few handling errors. Just checking the rugby past stats, I'm quite surprised that we've got 100% scrum success because those first few scrums were Finley Beelum had Reece Barrett and all sorts of knots, and then he sort of very similar to the Perpignan game. He sort of worked its way into it, which I think is encouraging because a lot of our props have been guilty of if they get on the wrong side of the ref, that's it, they stay the wrong side. Whereas Barrett seemed to work out what was needed on the fly. Very close game. Probably one of our best tackle successes of the season. The problem is the one or two occasions where we did miss tackles, it led to a try. So we got a bit battered of that. Very close game. We were always in the game, but I never felt Connacht wouldn't win, if that makes sense. It's like they just seemed to have that little bit too much. Just slightly bit better composure when they actually did get chance. I mean, it helped that they had nearly 70% possession. That really does help, frankly. And I said 42%, like 42% of the time possession was in our sort of 22 to halfway. So, they're gonna score 4 or 5 tries. Some good performances. Bit good, and we found out now that Big Al Lawrence is he looks like he's gonna be out with fractured hand. Thomas Young's a doubt, who was pervious on that game, apart from the ref seeming not know what a good turnover was. But even then, it still didn't stop him being part of Cardiff winning 9 of them. But you'll guess what I'm going to say was our biggest problem. It's this. We're on what I'm sure I found out is a weekend not for the Wales hookers in the squad, apart from Sam Parry, who stock rose by not playing. After what I've heard about Elliot D, and Evan Lloyd just had a stinker, really, for his first 20 minutes of throwing.
But we've been talking about this for a long time, Harley. Like all of last season was lineouts, and pretty much most of this season it's all the same. So why? Have you genuinely now? Yeah. So I don't know that much about the Cardiff backroom team. Have you got a lineout coach? And if so, what are they doing?
Judging by how hard it seems to be for teams to score maul tries on us, and some of our maul tries we've scored ourselves, mostly that, just not the actual lineup. I think a lot of it is just you've got a back rower who's learning to throw, and that's caused some problems. I think our lineup success goes up quite a lot when you've got our first choice. When Liam Belcher's throwing, and then as soon as you go down to Evan Lloyd, then it drops down again. I mean, the jokey answer would be it's just the Cardiff way. We've always had wonky lineouts. They're like Wales in that respect. Like I don't remember Wales ever having a completely dominant lineout. We've had okay lineouts and serviceable lineouts, but most of the time it's a bit potluck. So yeah, it's frustrating. We do have a lineout coach. Not sure what he's using. I mean, we have a scrum coach as well, and I'm still not sure what's happening there.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the rest. We say about Thomas Young. I thought Thomas Young was absolutely out. There was one where he had a break, as he does, picks the balls up, just goes on a trot, and of all the players that you want to have the ball, you want it to be in his hands because he's essentially a winger with a bit more beef about him. And he didn't go for the line. He stopped and he passed inside, and I was just like, I've genuinely never seen him do that before. He either goes full pelt for the line, or, do you know what I mean?
I think that shows the sort of faith they have in Tom Bowen, who I thought was electric again. Like you could see, there's a lot of rough edges on his sanding, but like the pace on the kid and like just is willing to have a crack is just, it is great. I mean, one moment I do want to think, which got a fantastic chance of one more year, was Ray Leela, who was on one leg at the time, managing to get an absolute pearl of a turnover, just stemming a kind of attack. It was like, oh, God, what this is why we don't want to put anyone else in the 13 jersey, because you can do that when he's half crocked.
You'll be calling in the Black Knight from Monty Python next. Yeah, just but a scratch. Come on, stop running away. I'll headbutt you.
Yeah.
Come on.
I made a joke with you because we were talking about the Scarlets, about which we'll go into later, about the sort of who they actually have left at the backs. And I was like, oh, well, you can have Johnny Williams and Max Page who's centres. And he went, Johnny's injured. I went, you're gonna have to tell him he isn't.
Makes a change.
Yeah.
We saw that coming.
Right, let's move on to probably the game of the weekend, but probably also the game that the least amount of people watched because it wasn't on Premiere, it wasn't on S4C or anything. So basically, Nick, you could say pretty much anything about the Ospreys game now, and everyone's going to go, fair enough, because hardly anyone saw it.
I think it is available, actually. I think it was shown, the whole game was shown on S4C.
It'd been about the 9 o'clock slot on Saturday.
I think it should be available on catch up. So I won't tell any untruths.
What did you make of the game, mate?
Absolutely brilliant. I thought it was the most positive results we've had this season. It was up there with winning at Leicester away in 2023 and Lions away last year in 2024. They were a very big pack, but I thought tactically Mark Jones got it right. He recognised their strength. He asked the players, I heard him in the interview say, he asked them to be brave. They were. We kicked a lot less than we normally do, kept the ball in hand. We made their big pack run around. We were under pressure at the scrums, but we stuck at it. We gave a few penalties away. But in fairness to the props who started and the props who came on, they battled really hard. We lost the aerial battle a little bit, but other than that, we were really, really good. 1-2, we didn't use 2 hour reserves, so 1-2, 21 were excellent. We scored some really good tries, some really standout performances. I thought in the pack, Lewis Lloyd as a very young hooker against a very big front row was very good. And Ethan Lewis coming back from injury, former Cardiff player, Harley, obviously, he did really well. But our physicality through people like Ratty, Spencer, and Fender were really good. They did the hard yards. And that allowed then Jack Morgan and Morgan Morse to really shine. We know Morgan Morse, I think, has got a lot of potential. It was his 20th birthday on Saturday, and he showed what a good player he possibly can be in the future. I'm talking real potential to be a very good international player for Wales, and maybe even better. And he's got rough edges, but what I've seen Morse playing for Ospreys before, sometimes through over exuberance, he can try and get into a ruck and give away a penalty. He was very disciplined. You could see he was thinking about it a couple of times, but he wasn't the first man arriving, and he didn't give away silly penalties, and that allowed him then to play, and when he gets the ball in the open, and he's got a bit of pace, he's got a step. He was superb, but I think the performance was epitomised by our captain. We're so lucky to have him, and I think Wales will see that we're so lucky to have him as well. I think he topped, as usual, the tackle count. I think he had at least 2 turnovers, scored a try, carried really well. He's such a dynamic player for his size. But as I say, overall, it was a really, really positive performance. The lineup was very efficient on the whole. And to go away from home, perhaps not to play Poe's first team, but as I say, that their pack was huge and the subs were huge. All their backs had played for France under 20s really recently, but we sort of catered for that there, and we've snuffed their attack out very well. Owen Williams played at 12, and I'm not always Owen's biggest fan, but he was very good at 12 on Saturday. And Cassende is looking a very good signing as well. So yeah, really positive. Couldn't have asked any more of the team. Put in an 80-minute performance. Halfbacks were good, of course, as well. Hardy's starting to get a little bit of a spark back as well. And Dan Edwards had a very good game. So yeah, absolutely delighted. And it's just a shame that people couldn't watch it live and get the drama of the game. More people couldn't have got that, but there we are. But very happy.
So I was thinking that probably, is this Premier's first or second season with the European Cup?
It's the first with the Champions Cup. They've had, I think, one or two where they've picked up Challenge Cup games.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
So basically, because they're focusing on the Champions Cup, the Challenge Cup's probably suffered a bit more than it has in the past. Because usually they pick up a game that, say, BBC Wales or S4C wouldn't have picked up.
So there's a strong.
But it's quite nice that S4C are doing the replay.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, it's not the same as watching it live, but you at least get to watch it.
Yeah, that I apparently missed. But it's it shows that we're heading in the right direction, because they're talking about launching a rugby channel. At the minute it is mixed in with all of everything else, but a dedicated rugby channel with the idea of bringing everything, including the Premiership, to Premier Sports. So that's their aim. Whether they go for the Six Nations as well, who knows? But that's what they're saying. They want to make a rugby channel, so at least they're committing to it. It's not going to be.
I'll be honest. Selfishly, I'd rather they brought the Pro Day Duro over, did some more top 14 over Prem. But Nick, I've just one question. I was thinking about how the last few URC seasons have gone. I know we're sort of talking about Challenge Cup, but given like the likes of Munster and Glasgow, they basically sort of weren't really anywhere at the start of the season, and then they sort of have these huge runs at the end. And particularly in Munster, they basically have huge injury crisis at the start, and then it comes back. Is it encouraging for you that you've got all these players coming back and they're all pretty much hitting the ground running?
Yeah, very. I was a bit frustrated beginning of the season. There were some long-term injuries, and as often happens with clubs, I think all clubs could be a little bit more transparent with injury news. Because we fill in the gaps a lot of time, and we're trying to work out who we've seen in training from clips and things like that. I think if they were a little bit more transparent, and somebody said, "Well, he's out for 6 months," at least we know he's out for 6 months. I know it's not exact science. So there was Will Griffiths had a nasty injury, and so did Rhys Davis, and so to get those type of players back has really strengthened our and obviously Fender was injured as well, wasn't he? Sorry, he's another one. So yeah, definitely having those back now as sort of is giving me cause for optimism, and hopefully as the season progresses we'll get Dewi Lake back and Adam Beard as well. So even if we might lose some players to injury for those who've gone to the Six Nations, we've got the potential for be able to put a pretty decent pack out for the rest of the season.
I was thinking when you said that, Harley, with Ospreys players are coming back and hitting the ground running, whereas your players are turning up and just hitting the ground. So on that, we will move on to Jamie and the. For all of those of you listening, Harley took objection to that comment.
I was going to say, I hope you wasn't laughing at the Dragons then, because that's not funny.
No, did you not see what Harley did?
No, I didn't, sorry.
Harley had a little sly scratch of the face.
Oh, right,
he did one of them. He did.
Oh, okay.
One for the YouTube.
Yes.
Let's talk Dragons and Lions then, Jamie. And Any positives at all?
Oh, it's difficult to know where to start, really. So I spoke about this game at length on the Dragon's Lair podcast with Nick Webb, who is a broadcaster and journalist. He commentated on this game for BBC Radio Wales. It was really good to have him on, just have a chat about the Dragons in general and Welsh Rugby, what have you. So that's out now. If you want to listen to that, we go into the game in much greater detail there. I mean, like I said, just difficult to know where to start. I'm not making excuses, but you got to look at this in context. So this was the second out of 3 games in 14 days for the Dragons, which is a tough schedule for any team, let alone the Dragons. So it's very unfair that they've been landed with a schedule like this, but it is what it is. So they had a 6-day turnaround to South Africa. And let's be honest, it was always going to be an uphill task, wasn't it? We have a lot of injuries at the moment. Obviously, Angus O'Brien wasn't available. He's our captain. Aaron Wainwright pulled out as a precaution, but hopefully he should be okay for Wales. That team that we saw on Saturday, that was the best team the Dragons could put out. Unfortunately, though, it was mostly young and inexperienced. Nick made a very good point on the Dragons Lair podcast, which I wasn't aware of. Rio Dyer was the youngest player in the back line at just 25 years old. And Elliot Dee was the oldest player in the entire matchday squad at just 30. So that gives you an idea of just how young and inexperienced this Dragons team was. And to be honest, the game went exactly as I expected. The game was over as a contest after just 25 minutes. The second half was slightly better, but Dragons still conceded 5 tries. I did say to you on the WhatsApp group tonight, this could be a 50, 60 pointer, and it was a 60 pointer. So yeah, I saw it coming. Dragons were pretty much second best in every area of the game. The scrum was absolutely destroyed. I've never seen a scrum get absolutely obliterated in the way that Dragons scrum did. Just a 67% scrum success for the Dragons compared to 100% for the Lions. The line-out, so let's talk about the line-out then. So Elliot Dee got pinged 3 times for not throwing in straight. However, what I would say, and Nick did point this out in his commentary, 2 of those calls were very contentious at best. One of them definitely wasn't straight, but the other 2, as Nick said, another ref on another day, it would have been fine. I thought Elliot was quite hard done by, to be honest, on 2 of them, but one definitely wasn't straight. So that didn't help, the line-out being wonky. Defense was passive. They were losing collisions on both sides of the ball. A tackle success rate of just 65%, which is incredibly low. And that tells its own story.
Did you get, sorry, Jane, just to interject, where did you get that? Because Rugby Pass lists it as 80.
No, I go off the EPCR website. I'm not looking at Rugby Pass because there's a big difference there between Rugby Pass and EPCR website. I've spoken to Hugh about it. Yeah, I don't want to get into it now, but Hugh has explained it. They're different providers, so I'm just going off the official stats that the broadcasters used. But yeah, 65% for the scrum success. Put simply, the Dragons, they just couldn't handle the power and the pace of the Lions in Johannesburg. And, the Dragons have exited Europe now with a whimper, but let's be honest, I think it's probably for the best because we just don't have the quality or strength and depth to be competitive in the URC and European rugby. It was men against boys. Unfortunately, they haven't got time to feel sorry for themselves. They got another short turnaround with Munster coming up now on Saturday. So it doesn't get any easier for the Dragons. And as me and Nick talked about as well, I just hope this hasn't caused too much damage to the youngsters because there was a lot of young players in our squad. And I'm just worried that being in a losing environment, losing every week and being involved in games like that, where it's so incredibly one-sided. And even in Aneurin Owen's own words, he said we were physically battered. It does raise concerns for me. But there's not much I can say about it. It was just a very sorry day for the Dragons. We knew they didn't really have a chance. We knew it was going to be tough, especially with this turnaround. But yeah, it's a very, very sorry season for the Dragons so far, isn't it? Don't really know much else to say about it. It was just a very, very tough day for everyone involved.
Well, we won't dwell on it, James, because like I say, the Dragons Lair podcast is out. And ironically, I don't know why, but it's one of the more popular podcasts this week.
Probably for the Safford Lions fans just tuning in, wanting to see what we've been saying about them.
Yeah.
That's probably what it is.
I think it's one of those things where when your backs are against the wall, everybody comes together and all of that kind of stuff. So it's weird because everyone, you start the season and you kind of go, I hope everybody else gets a battering, and then when you see sides kind of struggling in the way the Dragons are now, that changes very quickly, and you go, it's not good for anyone in Welsh rugby to see that happening to any of our sides. Whether it's us, the Ospreys, Cardiff, or the Dragons. So hopefully, something will change. Something's got to change one way or another for
Yeah.
you guys.
Something's got to change. You're quite right about that. I just don't know what, especially this season. But anyway, that's that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to Scarlets then, which kind of when you talk about a game of two halves and there was no wind, there was nothing. The weather was fine. There was no reason for it other than the job was done at the end of the first half, and they took the foot off the gas in the second half. And kind of cruise. I think the tries that we scored in the first half, some of them were absolute belters. Blair Murray's was cracking. Tom Rogers was super. I think there's an issue with Josh McLeod nicking Hooker's tries off driving lines, and if he's not careful, there's going to be an official warning out against him from the front row club. I think that's his fifth driving line out so far this season. So it's going really well. And then we hit half time. We didn't really start with a bang in the second half. We kind of started to grow into it and thought, okay, not so bad. Made a couple of substitutions. Now, there's a lot being said on socials about we made too many substitutions, we made them too early, this, that, and the other. The game was done. The game was bonus point in the bag, and we were in control. Half the time we moan about we're putting people on who haven't got experience. We're putting people on the pitch and they need more game time. And then we put them on the pitch and we go, we should have left Gareth Davis on. We can't have it both ways. We got to bite the bullet at some point and go, do you know what? When we get the opportunity to make those changes early, then we got to take it. People like Charlie Titcombe is now, that guy is really, really key to what we do for the rest of the season. We haven't got a time on how long Costello's going to be out for at the minute. That leaves us with Johan Lloyd, and best will in the world. He's gone down a couple of times, and every time he goes down, everyone's a little bit. What happens now? We need to give people like Charlie Titcombe, even at scrum half, some of the other boys, they need game time. And yes, it's hard. That game could have been 65, 70 odd points. We could have run away with it. But those guys will come on. They've learned. There's a couple of new boys in the front row that have learned a lot from that game. So, yeah, we should have held out a bit more in the second half. I think we were one try away from a home fixture. But I've been consistent through the season. I'm not that bothered about the European Cup. I think it's good that we had boys that got on the pitch, got a bit more experience, a bit more time in the shirt under their belt. Have made mistakes and are learning from it. That's unfortunately that is part of how you learn stuff. Sometimes you do have to go on there and go, I thought I had that. I've been put under pressure. I didn't get it quite right. How do I do that now under pressure? So, those guys will learn and we'll see the benefit from that at the end of this season, next season, 2 seasons' time, whatever it is. But we will see the benefit for it. What I will give a shout out to is Josh McLeod. He has been absolutely phenomenal this year. I think he's on. I looked at the stats. Actually, Tame Plumtree is top turnover so far this year in the league. The second turnover in the league.
Counts line-out steals and things like that as well, mind. It's not necessarily breakdown steals.
Okay, so it's not just turnovers on the pitch, so they count. Yeah, that would explain it. So Josh McLeod has just been phenomenal.
It's been very good, hasn't he? Fair play. He's been very good.
And I, for one, am not.
I think Josh McLeod just showing the promise he sort of has, but could never get an injury-free run. and now he's having an injury-free run, and he's showing us what he thinks.
I think if there is an injury, sort of 6 or 7 in the Welsh squad, for me, he should be the person that's called up.
Because we all know what happens when people go into Gatland's
Don't curse the poor bloke now. He needs an injury-free run. Don't get him called up for Wales.
No offense to Basham either. No offense to Basham.
No, Scarlets did the right thing. They took him off and said, take a break. Same with Gareth Davis, and I think more of that we need to do, and more of that we will see. So I thought cracking first half, learned a lot from the second, and job done, and we're through.
Can I just, your point you make about subs, just a suggestion. Maybe that's partly due to the way that Dwayne Peel have used, like you mentioned about Evan Jones. There was a lot of games where he was on the bench and he didn't come on. I think they should have used him more. If Evan Jones, only for the last 5 minutes, just to give him to kick under pressure, to pass under pressure. And that's partly down to the coaches, because there were lots of games you think, well, just bring him on for 5. You've won the game.
Yeah, and I think part of it has been we've been in a lot of close games. End of last season, start of this season, we've been in a lot of close games, and there has been that reluctance to make changes, which I get. We got tanked a lot last season, and you don't want to go through that again. And the opportunity to nick a win might be there, but I think the confidence is building now to make those changes. The disappointing thing was that Archie Hughes wasn't in the team, and pretty much all through last season, Archie and Charlie Titcombe played together at Carmarthen Quins. That they were kept together so that they could learn each other's game and all that kind of stuff. By all accounts, when they're playing together, that really clicks really well. So hopefully we'll see that through the rest of the season. But on the whole, it's job done. Happy with the first half. Second half could have been better. It is what it is. We're back to proper rugby now for this week. Not really much more I can say on that, unless anybody wants to.
Sorry, just to come in. There is a stat going round. Harley mentioned Rugby Pass stats earlier. Have you seen that stat on Rugby Pass that says Scarlets missed 46 tackles? That can't be right, surely. And if it is, that's incredibly high, isn't it?
Yeah,
missed a lot second half.
I think there was 1 or 2 runs in the second half where it depends what they class as missing a tackle, because sometimes you can run across 3 or 4 players and go around the outside, which I would class as the person on the outside misses 1 tackle, but sometimes they count he's run past 3 players to get to that outside, so that's 3 missed tackles.
46 is very, very high. I've not seen a missed tackle like that for a long while.
But if you're missing that many tackles,
depends how many you made, mind as well. You make 300 tackles and you miss 46, isn't that bad?
No, they didn't make that many tackles, I don't think. But it's just very high, isn't it?
It didn't feel like it watching. It felt an open game, and Van came to play. You could see that from the start. The amount of times we put the ball into their 22, and instead of hoofing it back to the 10-yard line, they decided to run and got caught and I think 2 of our line-out tries came from tackling them in the 22 and then giving a penalty away. So, they came to play. So from that sense, I guess
their fans, they were. It wasn't a big crowd at all, but their fans were great. Even when they were losing at half time, they kept on singing and banging the drum.
Fans,
they were great.
Really good fans.
And I know you guys hate it, but we need more drums in stadiums.
It does say sorry, I got the stats up here. 168 tackles the Scarlets made, and they're saying 46 were missed. And you got a tackle completion of 79%. Just very unusual numbers, really, isn't it? 46. That's very,
dipping
very
into the bad, but I mean, it's ultimately you can miss like a few tackles. Johan Lloyd leads to it. Can quite often cause the opposition team to miss a load of tackles because he's just a bit nuggety, but it ultimately goes nowhere because someone does get him and he's usually run away from support. So,
other than that, the numbers are fine.
Quite low.
Yeah, the numbers are generally fine.
It seems like they're high, but it might be right.
Okay, let's move on then and take a look ahead. But before we do, a quick shout out to some of what's happening on pods and all of that kind of malarkey. So we are still looking for extra presenters, pretty much on every pod, to be honest. If anybody is speaking Welsh and wants to join us, am I right on this, Nick, or am I
no,
right?
it would be great because it would, I've mentioned off air, to Harley, it's perhaps more difficult further east in Wales, but certainly in the Cardiff area there'll be a lot of Welsh speakers. So hopefully, if we could get an extra one, because I think I think it works better where there's three or more. That's Carwyn is great. Don't get me wrong, but I think, and that also means if one of us can't make it, we could still broadcast.
And if anyone's ever met a Dragons supporter that speaks Welsh, I mean, they appear to be gold dust at the minute.
Don't
I
look
don't
at
think
me.
we.
I don't know any Dragon supporters that speaks Cymraeg, unfortunately.
Maybe we need to
In the
get
future,
Lance Bradley. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we are looking all over the place. We're pretty much there on the Ospreys pod, but we do need somebody to cover the local games or the community games, the academy, and all of that kind of stuff. So far with the Ospreys, I've had somebody from Dubai, Texas, and it was somewhere else in Germany or France. They were on like 6 months leave in France or Germany or something like that. And
worldwide appeal. That is, you see.
no, mate, this is why no buggers turning up to the
Oh, I
Swansea.com.
thought you'd have to turn it.
All your fan base are around the rest of the world. There's no bugger left in Swansea. That's what it is. But if anybody fancies joining us, do give us a shout, because the more of us, the merrier on that one. Right, let's take a look ahead to this weekend. So we're back into URC. Time to get serious with proper rugby. We kick off on Friday night when Ospreys entertain Benetton. So, Nick, what are you expecting?
Well, it's a short turnaround for us this time, isn't it? They weren't travelling till I think late on Sunday. I think Matt Jones said he's going to give them a couple of days off. So it's whether he can get them energised again. Hopefully, we can make just a few changes to help that, that level of energy for the game. 2-3 changes probably would help. I'm not expecting any of our Welsh contingent to be involved at all. I think they'll all be in camp, and I think that's probably. But that's also probably true of Benetton, who's they have the largest by far majority of the Italian squad as well. But they can still put out a decent team. They got 3 Argentinian internationals, including a very Gallio's prop and the outside half, some very good player. Got a big lad on the wing, haven't they? The Fijian Fekatoa, used to play for New Zealand. So there'll be no mugs whatsoever. But I think it'll be potentially a good game. And if and both teams had, of course, excellent wins the weekend. But our team will be, I would think, more similar to the team that played out in Pau than their team that won at home for them.
The big difference now that we're back into URC, is Benetton are in 7th, and because of the start of the season that you've had, you're down in 14th. So there's a lot more for them to play for. They're closer to sticking in the top half, if you like, than yourselves. So I don't know how that plays. I don't know whether your guys now go, okay, we've got a good run in Europe.
No, I think we take each game as it comes. A couple of wins during the Six Nations, and we could be pushing for sort of top, further. We'd be mid table, and with a few results go the right way, I expect us to win. Most of our games at home. Certainly, the rest of this season.
I'm just looking at the league, and the team that is just above you. 1 point, you're on 17 points. On 18 points is Connaught.
Yeah.
And you look at how well Connaught have been playing through Europe, and you wouldn't put them down there with yourself. So, and you're on 17 points, so one decent win.
It's all very tight once you get one decent
really
win,
tight.
And then you get into that middle group, and it's very tight, and it's going to be like that, I think, till the end of the season.
Yeah, it's it is nightmarishly tight, isn't it? Okay, so that's on BBC Two on Friday night. What I will say is I've had a quick look at the long range weather forecast this morning. It is not looking good for Friday, Saturday. It is for the first week this season that all four sides are playing at home. It's looking like an absolute howler, but that is a long range forecast, so that can change. Um, okay, Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, Scarlet's Edinburgh, which is another one that I don't think is on telly, but is a weird one to put on at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, but very welcome. We're in sixth, Edinburgh in eighth. They had a really dodgy start to the season. We've had a pretty consistent season, um, but we're not that far apart. I think they've had a good couple of wins running into Christmas. I think injury update on Tuesday is really important for us now. I don't envisage Joe Roberts playing a part. He took a bang on his knee, and then we're going to send him for a couple of days with Gatlin. So I can't see him playing much. But then we have got key people there. Plumtree, Vandermeer, Hooker is just playing out of his skin at the minute. Warthog, Gareth Davis, Titcombe is gonna be really, really important, but we've still got Johan Lloyd there. So there is there's enough quality still there to do a bit of damage. But like I said to you guys earlier, I think Edinburgh aren't going to be affected as much as we are, and I think that might be what plays into it. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. It's definitely one that Scarlets should be looking at winning, um, particularly at home. But yeah, it is. It's going to be close. I think that's going to be in a close game, and it'll be who wins the mental battle and who plays the conditions better for me on that one. So then that's at 3 o'clock. At 5:15, Harley, Cardiff host the Sharks. How is this going to? Because they come over for 2 weeks, or they've been over for 1 week, and this is their second week.
Is
This is their
this
second.
this second week? And because they have their own injury crisis, they've had to send a few lesser known players, Bongi Mbanambi, Lekanyo Am, Sia Khaleesi, Oxen Che, Trevor Niakani. But basically, they've had to send their box. I think minus Ebenezer, it's pretty much their box. Like it's you've got Grant Williams and Jaden Hendricks as your scrum half. Like just in the middle of A, us losing a load of players to Wales, and B, every other bugger being injured. So we've just had news Alan Lawrence has broken his hand, so he's probably not going to play. Mackenzie Martin is basically being given daily steroid injections on his shoulder just so he can sort of play, which is not a great place to be. Thomas Young is apparently a doubt as well. I mentioned Ray Lido's on that. I mean, yes, we get Louis Hennessy back, but I mean, when you're up against two-time World Cup winger Lou Canuan, what you don't want is an academy player from someone else's academy who's done about 10 training sessions with you, because that's not going to go well. And now you've mentioned the weather's bad, which means there's going to be more drop balls and more scrums. So poor Reece Barrett is going to have a time. I'm afraid.
I'm sensing that you're not very confident about this, Harley.
No. I've got a funny feeling that our winning run against the Sharks is coming to an end.
When did that winning run start, mate?
It's been 3 games. I mean, they've only been in the league 3 years. We've won each of the 3 years.
I was expecting you to recall the time when you visited South Africa and nilled them on home soil to come away with a famous victory.
That the shine's kind of gone off that, because the next time we face that coach, he beat us quite handily. So yeah, that's no good. I mean, it would be nice to because I could always go around with the phrase of, oh, if I had £1 for every time Cardiff got the Sharks coach sacked, it'd be weird, but it's funny that it's happened twice. Well, I don't think it's happening this time. I think there's just far too much quality, and I just don't. I think as good as some of the players there are in Cardiff, there's a lot of academy lads. It's going to be some very raw people who probably aren't ready to face a full international front row.
Okay.
Sound familiar, Jamie?
Yes.
let's move on to the Dragons, because you finished Saturday, Jamie, with a game against Munster at 7:30 or 7:35. Um, I mean, dare I ask? I mean, Munster aren't having a great season. Let's be honest. And Dragons have always got at least one decent game a season in them.
I think we already used it against the Ospreys, so that's the problem. Oh, to be fair, Newcastle away in the Challenge Cup was actually our best performance. But yeah, there's some tired bodies in the Dragons camp after the travelling and the battering they took out in Johannesburg. So there probably will be some slight rotation, though I don't really know who comes in. They could just really do with guys like Matthew Screech, Steve Cummins, Angus O'Brien, and Harry Keddy back. I think we really do need those guys just for experience as well. But there was some good news on the weekend. So Tongan international Solomon Funaki, he made his return to the field, playing for Pontypool against Llandovery in Super Rugby Cymru. Came off the bench and scored a try. So he might be in the mix. We might see Dane Blacker and Jordan Williams coming from the cold to play this one because they also played for Pontypool. Munster, I mean, they'll probably be without their Irish internationals, wouldn't they? And they have got a lot of injuries themselves, to be fair. They're 11th in the URC, so they've had a disappointing season, really, by their standards. But saying that, I still think they're going to be too powerful for the Dragons. But the last time Munster came to Ronnie Parade, as we well know, when Rio Dyer tore it up, made Simon Sebo look like a very slow old man. And that was the game he really announced himself in Welsh Rugby that day. It was a fantastic occasion, great win. But the last time he came to Newport, we beat them. So I don't see it happening this time around, but stranger things have happened. So yeah, I think it's going to be tough no matter what team Munster bring over here, to be honest.
Okay. So yeah, there's a little bit of positivity, but it's very thinly spread out amongst a lot of us. Okay, so just to recap, then the Ospreys game is on BBC Two. Scarlet's game is on Premier, not on terrestrial. Cardiff are on S4C. Dragons are on S4C. Just in case anybody was wondering where they all are. So we'll do predictions in a minute. Harley, do you want to run us down the league? But before you do, just if anyone is liking what they're hearing, liking what they're seeing, please do give us a rate and a share. Don't forget to subscribe and share the love that everyone has. Right now, you can do Prediction League.
Right, so I'm going to go from bottom to top. So, unfortunately, Nick, you've inherited a pretty sorry state of affairs. So you're currently in fourth place with 60 points. Then it's a bit of a jump up to Lee on 64. Then, thanks to some good predictions for me for the derbies, I'm up to 69. I kind of don't want to score another point, but we score at least 1 point every round, so that's no choice. And then Jamie, with his utter disgust at the Dragons' performances and predicting them to be completely battered most weeks, has gotten to 70. He's ahead on 72. He's also by far and ahead away the closest in terms of the difference from what his predictions to the actual scores as well. So there's only 186 points variance.
I am the Leinster Rugby predictions. That's what you're saying.
There's no enjoyment, but it's incredibly efficient.
Okay,
just to put it out there, that Lee is 303 points out on his predictions. He was the first one to break the 300 mark.
What can
I should be really close this year. With the amount of times that I forecast Scarlets to win or lose by 1, and the amount of times that we're within 5, I should be doing all right on that. But it's because I keep.
The problem is this season you've been predicting Scarlets by 20.
Yeah, there's a point, Harley. You got right. So, just so Nick knows what's going on. So we predict who's going to win and by how many points, Nick. And then, well, I'll go on. Harley, you explain to Nick and anyone that's just catching up how the league works.
Right. So for each of the game involving one of the Welsh sides, we have a score prediction, and it would say it'll be Ospreys win by 6, and they actually win by 4. You get a variance of 2, and then we'd look at how far away each person is. The person who's closest gets 4 points. Next person 3, 2, 1. If there's a tie in 2 people, they get a lower rank. So you're not joint third, you're joint fourth, you're joint second, etc. And then whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. And Lee will.
Or Jamie, as we like to.
Yeah. Or well, no,
Wins
I
the
won,
shield,
I
wins
won,
the
I won
shield.
last year by quite a way in the end.
I won the first year, you won the second year. Jamie is absolutely destroying us
Yeah,
this year, mate.
it's quite
Right
encouraging.
title
It's a
this
bit
year.
like the URC. We're having a different winner every year.
Yeah.
How we're
Right,
sailing it.
let's do predictions then, Harley. You kick off, mate. You
Right.
take the show.
So I've picked. I think I've gone quite optimistic for two of these results. You can see if you can guess which two. I've gone for Ospreys by 5, Scarlets by 2, Sharks by 9, and Munster by 5. Guess which two I was feeling optimistic on.
Okay, who's go next, mate?
Well, on my sheet it says Nick, so
Okay,
let's go with Nick.
I'll go Ospreys by 8, Scarlets by 3, Sharks by 15,
Yeah.
and Munster by 12.
Then we have Jamie.
I've gone Ospreys by 10. I've also got Scarlets by 2, Harley. We've got the same prediction there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Sharks by 6, but it would not surprise me if Cardiff were absolutely jammy and ended up beating the Sharks because they have got a hex over them. So I am going to go for Sharks by 6, but it would not
I'm
surprise
fully
me.
expecting a game like Glasgow. I reckon it's going to be like the Glasgow again. It's just going to be like.
Yeah, it has the potential, but I don't know. Like I said, Cardiff have got something over the Sharks. And then Dragons Munster, I've gone Munster by 16. That was my prediction.
And then finally, El Capitan.
So I've gone Ospreys by 5, and then Scarlets by 8 to remove the losing bonus point out of Edinburgh. See, I think there'll be like a penalty in the last 5 minutes that will put us 8 points ahead, and that will it all gets into the league stuff now. See,
Can we give bonus points if the performance ends the other coach's career? Because I said if you win so well by thing, I think you should get double points.
I've gone Sharks by 20 and Munster by 20. I think it's going to be a torrid weekend for you boys. A beast this weekend. So yeah, that would be my predictions on those. So cool. Right. We're all done then, gents. We're all done. And we've kept within an hour. And nobody's threatened to lamp each other. This is going very well. This is...
Stop now.
Yeah. Right. So I'm just going to finish on a little bit of a philosophical note that kind of showed itself. I know.
Here we go. Oh, God.
I tied a couple of things together today and I thought, you know what, I need to say something on the pod. So the other side of the water, we have the great orange cucumber taking power today. And then I saw a whole load of posts where, so I think when supporters get into a game and they forget who their own team is, and instead of saying, my team did this, we judge ourselves on who we are by hating somebody else. And it really, really annoys me. And I tied the two things together today and I just thought, you know what, as a rugby supporter, we're better than that. As a rugby supporter, you use your brain, you use your heart a load more than you do with all these other things. So when you find yourself doing it, just kind of stop. I think we probably all do it at some point. We go, I hate them and we're better than them, blah, 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 blah. But just take a couple of seconds and have a think about what you say and give your head a wobble, because we're better than that. As rugby supporters, as a rugby family, we're better than that. We're mad passionate about the game that we love, but we keep it under control. And if we don't, we're going to end up like the great orange cucumber the other side of the water. And on that note, gents, I will finish the pod. Thank you very much for your time. Once again, it's been a pleasure. And enjoy your rugby. Good night. That was WRAP, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast. Please rate, review and share us on socials if you can, and join us again next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.